Good day, Ski Jerrys. This is yet another addition to the ZFK Vlogs series, and I'm your host, Guy in a Ski Suit. I think that we can all agree that this is likely the worst ski season of a lifetime, and frankly, wearing this snowsuit at all hours of the day is the only thing that cheers me up while I dwell on a snowier past. In this video, I'm going to tell you a story from February 2023, a snowier time in my past, when I had the honor and privilege with a few buddies to go shred pow in the western Pacific coast of British Columbia. Canada is a nation known for its traditionally harsh winters. Many adapt and embrace this undeniable yearly cycle. But I was never like the other Canadian boys growing up. I never got a whole lot of exposure to things like hockey. That is a version that takes place on ice at least. Growing up, I always associated the wintertime with the hardships of school, lack of money and work due to yearly seasonal job cuts in Niagara Falls where I grew up, and of course, general seasonal depression due to lack of vitamin D. This was a deadly winter cycle of my life until I discovered the wonders of skiing in 2020. The ski hill quite literally cured my seasonal depression and gave me an incredible winter pastime that I now look forward to every single year. After years of being an Ontario boy gridlocked to small-sized interior East Coast hills, I finally decided to spend my 26th birthday on bigger and better terrain in the Pacific coast of Canada with good company. Until this trip, the majority of my ski background, experience, and fond memories came from learning this craft at Blue Mountain in Collingwood, Ontario. With my ski background out of the way, let's progress this story from the bunny hills of Ontario to the awe-inspiring enormous mountain ranges of the Canadian West. The GOAT, the myth, and the legend himself, Big Sosh, and I hop on a plane from dreadful Toronto Pearson and touch down late at night at slightly less dreadful Vancouver International Airport. After a couple-hour flight, we crash on our friend Alex's couch in downtown Vancouver to get some rest before our first big day on the Big Mountain. Early the next morning, we wake up and borrow Alex's car and head up to Cypress Ski Resort. This ski resort sits straddled on the westernmost peaks of the mountains north of Vancouver. It offers the best views of Metro Vancouver, Stanley Park, Lionsgate Bridge, and the Georgia Strait. With Mount Baker looming in the background, it is easy to confirm that this mountain had the best panoramic views of the entire trip. It was a perfect and beautiful sunny day, surrounded by white-crested mountains and frozen evergreen trees. We felt right at home here with classic low-altitude, compacted, icy East Coast snow throughout a lot of the resort. However, pretty well everything else at this resort made up for that one-off shortcoming. Most of the runs here centralize back into a bowl shape where the lodge area is located. Off to the side of Cypress's Cozy Lodge is a small-size Olympic park with some decent features. This being my first experience on a real big boy mountain, finally equipped with ski gear, was a ton of fun, and I genuinely felt a childlike sense of wonder trying to explore every lift and peak of this place. My goal was to see every different lookout accessible from this mountain. The views here on a clear day are simply priceless. I give Cypress Mountain a rating of 10 out of 10 for views, 5 out of 10 for snow quality, 7.5 out of 10 for terrain park, 8 out of 10 for runs and variety, and 7.5 for atmosphere and lodge, for a total of 7.6 out of 10. Sasha and I return to Vancouver, and for the next couple of days, Robson Street and Homer Street becomes our home base. After picking up our rental vehicle from just down the street, Sasha and I check into Hilton Vancouver, located on one corner of this intersection, while at the same time, our friends Alex and Riley just so happen to live on the opposite side of the intersection in their apartment. This really couldn't have been any more convenient, and it was all just a stone's throw away from BC Place just down the street. As we wind down for another night of less than adequate duration of sleep, the snow outside begins to fall. Another day begins and the forecast calls for another big snowy dumpy dump fast approaching Vancouver. Alex, Sasha, and I all get in the car and head up to Grouse Mountain. First things first, I think this is the best ski resort in North Vancouver. It has the best mix of everything I look for in a ski hill, and indeed it had the most challenging terrain of all three resorts in the area. This resort is only accessible by a gigantic people-moving gondola, which was, in all honesty, pretty damn cool. At its peak, Grouse also features a full-size power-generating windmill with an observation deck, which is pretty unique. The attraction I am referring to is the Eye of the Wind, and it is even visible from Kitsilano Beach, something I later realized after zooming into some of my photos taken there. It didn't take long for us to hit a smoke break and blaze just to add a little cherry on top to this experience. There were a few times at Grouse where I even went places I shouldn't have and got stuck on some pretty gnarly steeps with little way of getting down. This was exhausting, but still made for some good learning experiences in regards to being aware of your surroundings and general mountain traversal decision making. I give Grouse Mountain a rating of 8.5 out of 10 for views, 8 out of 10 for snow quality, 8 out of 10 for terrain park, 9 out of 10 for runs and variety, 7.5 out of 10 for atmosphere and lodge, for a total of 8.2 out of 10. We shredded all day and night, and when it was time to head back, we went down to the car and started to pack our gear amidst the falling snow. Afterwards, we headed back down to Gastown for a night out, since it was my birthday trip after all. With liquor flowing and music pumping, this was probably one of the better nights out I've had in recent memory. Finally comes the trip intermission. I take the day to spend some time on my own capturing some B-roll and photos from around the Vancouver area. Luckily, our hotel with Hilton had some good breakfast and a rooftop hot tub to mend our hangover before I headed out for photos. Vancouver is certainly not some kind of perfect utopia like its marketing would suggest. It has arguably more problems than every other major Canadian population hub, but in my mind, I've always romanticized the idea of settling here. There is just no shortage of beauty everywhere you look. Finding opportunity in a modern city cradled in the Canadian Rocky Mountain range with access to vast nature, ocean, and urban concrete jungle is very attractive to me, and clearly it is for a lot of other people who have chosen to relocate to this city. The name Whistler is synonymous with the idealization of ski culture and world-class natural wonder. When Whistler Mountain and Blackcomb Resort amalgamated into a singular resort in 1997, it rightfully claimed the crown of North America's largest ski resort. These mountains combined make up an unbelievable total of 8,171 acres or 33 squared kilometers. Connecting the two mountains is the incredible Whistler Blackcomb Peak to Peak, which at the time was the longest free-span ropeway transportation system of its kind in the world when it opened in 2008. With colossal global reputations such as Whistler, it was only a matter of time until the 2010 Winter Olympics was hosted in Vancouver and by extension of geographic proximity, Whistler Blackcomb. Whistler Blackcomb is world-renowned for its seemingly endless snow-covered high-altitude vistas, massive selection of runs, plentiful glades, and world-class terrain parks. We were thrilled to enjoy 2 days of rugged mountain traversal here, and although the price tag wasn't cheap, it was worth every dollar. There are people out there that would kill to visit Whistler, and we were blessed to be able to have done it ourselves. After yet another evening of inadequate sleep, I wake up in regrettable sleepless shambles, but we still hop in the car and head up the beautiful snow-covered sea-to-sky highway to Whistler, British Columbia. Alex, Sasha, and I get ready in the parking lot with the sun rising in the sky, with a new addition to our base camp crew, Adam. All four of us played football in high school together, so it was really just a lot of fun to be able to get together and experience Whistler. Upon initial arrival, I almost opted to nap in the car for a bit due to my pure exhaustion, but my pals did the right thing and told me I'd be a bitch for doing so. All four of us laced up and headed to our first gondola ride of the day. Whistler and Blackcomb alike are both gigantic mountains to get absolutely lost and immersed in. With near endless potential, it's easy to run side quests and get separated from even your most experienced trailblazing buddies, just like I did.
Yeah, dude. Dude, what? Tell him to send it to you now and then we can head in that direction. If you get first location now, we'll head in that direction instead of waiting until we get to the bottom, realizing we're at the wrong lift and having to meet somewhere else.
You have to go right.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Are you heading that? Go. Quick. Oh, you fuck. Jesus.
We're going far left. We're going left gap. Zach went right, so we kind of want to go as right as we can.
Okay, go for that far right gap then. I don't know if that's a trail though, that's the thing.
Yeah, it looks pretty dense.
I just want to go down like legitimate visible trails. Let's hit this and then go right.
We're pretty fucked with Ferb anyway, we'll just find them when we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yo, we're going the exact opposite way of where Ferb is.
Are we?
Yeah, this is 7th Heaven Avenue. We're on this earlier.
No.
Losing your buddies on a mountain this big can make getting back together quite a challenge. So in the meantime, I found this sweet peak-to-peak souvenir at the top of the mountain and boarded it right back down to the bottom of the mountain to meet the boys. I had already visited Whistler during the summer prior to this trip, and what you can see from the village is only a small fraction of the true size of these two mountains. Both mountains are taller than most, and they offer sprawling peak areas featuring nothing but snow and rock. It's a strange feeling to be so high up in a foreign place with no vegetation or obstacles in your way. Quite simply, nothing but wide open snow all the way down. From the top of Whistler Mountain, be sure to look for the world famous Black Tusk, an amazing rock formation that resembles a star shape from this angle. I'm sure one day I'll make it back to take some professional photos of it, fingers crossed. In our 2-day journey up and down these mountains, we passed by a number of world-class terrain parks, but we didn't even get caught trying to attempt them with the amount of sleep we've had during the duration of this trip. They say bigger isn't always necessarily better, but in this case at Whistler Blackcomb, it most certainly is better. I cannot truly give an informed opinion given the sheer size of this resort and only 2 days there, but if I had to pick one of the two mountains I did like better, I'd have to take Blackcomb over Whistler. The little bit of layout and the runs that I did see between the two mountains just gave me an impression that I kind of do like Blackcomb better out of the two. Down at base level, Whistler Village has an intelligently designed sprawling village with all kinds of underground networks and parking. Plenty of hotel rooms, condos, restaurants, shops, and activities are available here. It's a very livable village, but at a hefty price tag that is. Supply and demand, we are talking about Whistler after all. It's no surprise that this is such a worldwide sought-after tourist destination, and I really don't see that changing anytime soon. Whistler Blackcomb has truly earned its reputation in every measurable metric, and for that reason, this is why I give Whistler Blackcomb a rating of 8 out of 10 for views, 8 out of 10 for snow quality, 10 out of 10 for terrain park, 10 out of 10 for runs and variety, and 10 out of 10 for atmosphere and village. With everything considered, this is why Whistler Blackcomb deserves a rating of 9.2 out of 10. And so after a long week, the last morning of the trip comes around. Our flight home departs later this evening, but that didn't stop us from heading out for one last shred. This last-minute addition to the trip ended up being a great decision because out of all the resorts visited during this week, Seymour Mountain offered by far the most abundant powder of all the resorts we visited. We are talking the legs of powder that I had never seen before, often running up past my knees. It definitely required adjustment and technique, and it was something that every East Coast snowboarder has wet dreams about. There's really not a whole lot else to mention. Visibility was very low, traffic on the runs was dry as well. The terrain park was actually very solid, and the lodge and size of scope of the resort was pretty run-of-the-mill. The resort hosts regular-sized chairlifts and even a few rickety 2-seater lifts. If this was a budget option for a season's pass in the Vancouver area, I'd say it's still a solid deal. Overall, this was a perfect last stop resort to scratch one more snowboarding itch before heading home. From me, Mount Seymour receives a rating of 6.5 out of 10 for views, 10 out of 10 for snow quality, 7 out of 10 for terrain park, 5 out of 10 for runs and variety, and 5 out of 10 for atmosphere and lodge. From me, Mount Seymour receives a rating of 6.8 out of 10. This trip was absolutely worth every penny, and I am absolutely positive that this will not be my last time shredding POW and Whistlervan. Riding mountains with all your adult high school friends of the past makes for some unforgettable memories. Don't forget, if you did like this video, please leave a comment, like, and or subscribe. Stay steezy, my friends.